After a thrilling regular season that set the field for the One-Up Superstar Series playoffs, they begin here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway, the last great Coliseum, the world's fastest half-mile. We join you today from Bristol, Tennessee for 150 laps around this high-banked half-mile oval. Alongside me in the booth for today's race is James Ellison, as per usual with the Superstar Series, and well, this has been a very interesting regular season, but we have 15 drivers in contention for a championship, and their hunt for the title begins tonight, and could you pick a much better place to get things started?
I don't think there's very many other tracks that you could pick for this. It's the last great Coliseum. Bristol is certainly a good place to get started. It could also be one of the craziest places to get started, depending on how the races go. Because you see a lot of different things happen. You could see a semi-tame race, or you could see complete chaos. But it's all a matter of how the races run, and I believe we're going to see a good one tonight.
So as we look now at the starting lineup, the amazing streak of pole sitters this season continues as William Brock gets his first career pole at Bristol. He edges out Nelson Reeves for that. They share the front row, which is very good news for if they were watching the races earlier this weekend. That bodes very well for starting on the front row here tonight. The next 4 spots are devoted to, next 5 spots actually, are devoted to playoff drivers. Devin Fair and Christian Vargas, teammates, they line up 3rd and 4th. Cale Teskar Jr. rounds out the top 5. But honestly, any one of these drivers could win today if they play their cards right. But passing is going to be quite difficult here, so you got to find a way to use that bumper wisely if you're going to make any sort of progress here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You take a look at what happened in the Turbo Truck Series race. I mean, we saw flag to flag domination. Nobody could get by the eventual race winner. It could play out the same way here, which I think William Brock would definitely be happy about that. But it could also play out more in favor of some of the people starting just behind the front row. So it's definitely going to be something that the playoff drivers are looking at. Fair, Vargas, Teskar, Mashburn, and Ortiz even being right up there. If they can stay up here at the front, their chances of being able to secure themselves to continue on with their championship chances, that's big.
So with that being said, all the cars are lined up on the grid, 42 cars strong, and we're ready to bring you 150 laps of action from the Bristol Motor Speedway. This is the One-Up Superstar Series playoff opener at Bristol Motor Speedway, and the green flag is just moments from coming out. With William Brock on the inside, Nelson Reeves on the outside, green flag in the air, and boy, William Brock gets a mega start. Just like Zach Rogers in the truck race 2 nights ago, Brock steams off with the lead. Nelson Reeves critically tucks down into that inside groove ahead of Devin Fair, so it's single file for the top. Looks like top 5 are all single file, but William Brock with a mega start leads lap 1.
And that is exactly what he needed. Now he just has to hope, like I've already said, that he can do something like what Rogers did in 2 nights ago, but that might be a tough task, especially if Devin Fair could get by Nelson Reeves here.
Because remember, Devin Fair started this race from the pole last time we were here, and he dominated the early stages of the race before ultimately being passed for the win. But he's got a really fast car under him this time, and I wouldn't put it past him to make a few passes to get to the lead and maybe even steal the win. But he's got a lot of work to do to make that happen, as he's got Nelson Reeves directly in front of him, and then the leader, William Brock, just in front of the 17.
Yeah, and Reeves isn't exactly slacking off. He's trying to get back up there to Brock. He's not going to let him get away. But as we saw in the truck race, and it's a matter of if you can actually get by. We saw several attempts to try to get by the eventual winner, Zach Rogers, in the truck race, but it's hard to tell how that's going to play out here. If it's going to play out the same way, or if somebody's actually going to be able to get by Brock and take off and win it themselves.
So right now, we're on lap number 6. The laps click off very fast here. William Brock holds a pretty comfortable lead over Nelson Reeves, starting to play with that middle groove just a little bit. As the race progresses, you're going to see that upper lane start to become more and more effective. But for now, everybody's sticking to the bottom of the racetrack because that's where all the grip is currently. But I fully expect that upper lane or two to come in as soon as the cars work some rubber into the track. But as things stand right now, the gap at the front of the field, 0.3 of a second between William Brock and Nelson Reeves, and everything's staying clear and green so far as we complete lap number 8.
And that's exactly what Brock wants to see, because if he's going to take off with this or even have hope to lead a good chunk of laps, whether he wins or not, he has to hope that he's not going to have anything hinder him, and a caution or even the eventuality of lap cars could certainly mess with that, as Reeves comes up on him right now.
Yeah, we're on lap number 10 already. William Brock doing whatever he can to try and keep this lead. He's never won in the 1-Up Superstar Series, but neither has Nelson Reeves either. They're both trying to get their first career win. Just as we've seen the previous races here, it's going to be very interesting to see who can cash in big time here at the world's fastest half mile. But right now, we're on lap number 11. The top few all single file.
And they're all pretty close, especially the top. Well, correction there. Look, the entire top 10 and then some is right there, like a freight train right now, as they all just ride around and eventually hope to find a way to make some moves to gain spots or at least prevent people from taking them from them.
Yeah, it's the whole field pretty much now in single file formation, and it's going to be like that for a little while because the bottom of the racetrack provides the most grip currently, but I fully expect, like what William Brock's doing right now, working that middle groove, maybe working the top groove later, just trying to get some rubber down there to make some more grooves viable, because this is not what we want to see all night long. We don't want to see single file racing the whole time. We want to see some passes, we want to see some racing action, and I fully expect that to happen as the rubber works in and the race progresses.
Yeah, once the rubber's in, that could really start making things interesting, and we've seen it at other tracks before. The longer a race goes, sometimes you've got somebody who's going to stay good most of the race or all the race, and then other times you'll see them fade and someone else will come in, and but you just never know what's going to happen sometimes. But right now, we're just looking at this as we're getting ready to go on to lap 17 here. We've got a really good straight, no battles really is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I see one starting to brew between Nelson Reeves and Devin Fair. They're battling now for second place. Devin Fair trying to get underneath the 17 of Reeves. Not quite going to work out this time. But I have a feeling both of those Revolution Racing cars are faster than Nelson Reeves right now. Because as we know, Nelson Reeves is not going to be back in this car next year. He's going down to the Truck Series with King's Motorsports. So he only has a limited amount of time left in this ride. He wants to make the most of it, try and get himself a big win before his time in this car is over.
Yeah, he wants to go out with a bang, just not one that includes the wall or an engine expiration. He wants to win. And I honestly think that he could do it. It's just a matter of if things play in his favor. So it's certainly playing somewhat in his favor right now as he continues to hold off Fair.
Yeah, but don't forget, Fair also has a teammate behind him in Christian Vargas. You have to go back to 5th place, Cale Tescar Jr., to find one of Reeves' teammates. So Reeves and Tescar are currently the bread in a big Revolution Racing sandwich. But them battling for position like this is just allowing William Brock to get a bigger and bigger lead out in front. It was 0.6 of a second. It remains 0.6 of a second. So Brock extending his lead just a bit while the Toyotas battle behind him.
And he is loving seeing this. He's got to be looking in that mirror every so often saying, come on, keep fighting. I want to run away with this. Just keep fighting. That's all he wants, is for them to keep focused on each other and forget about him. But I've got a feeling that if Fair or Vargas can get by the 17, this could become an interesting race in the long run.
But currently we are entering lap 24 to lead held station, with William Brock enjoying a nice margin over 4 Toyotas battling for the second position behind. It's going to be a very interesting battle for the rest of the way if they can catch up to William Brock. I imagine they will once the lap traffic comes into the picture. But that might not be for another 20 to 30 laps or so. So for right now, they've got to focus on not fighting each other this hard and just square their attention on William Brock. As you see, Anderson Reed actually with the fastest lap of the race in that 15 car back in 10th. A very strong run from him. But we're focused now on this battle for second because Reeves and Fair are going at it pretty hard, as is Christian Vargas behind them.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of the top 10 is staying just about where it was when the race started, but it's all because there's not a lot of fighting going on at the moment, other than the occasional attempt by Fair to get by Reese, but that could change. Like I said, that could change real quick as this race goes on. But for now, everybody seems to be at least somewhat content with where they are. Though I'm sure they'd love to be able to move a whole lot further forward, especially the playoff drivers.
Yeah, we were focused there on Anderson Reed for a moment. Big shout out to him for running in the top 10. This is a track he absolutely loves. He got his first career pole here. He's led a bunch of laps here. He's got top 10s here. He'd love to get another one here tonight. But there's still plenty of plenty of time left between now and the checkered flag. We still have 121 laps to go. And as things stand right now, whoa, there's a dive from Miles Mashburn to the inside of Cale Teskar Jr. They almost made contact off of 3 and 4, but Teskar holds the place over Mashburn by about a tenth of a second, as we got our first retiree of the race right here. It's the 42 of Justin Henley, the only one of the Henley Bemidji Motorsports team to qualify in for this race. His race is over on just the 31st lap. It's tough to see, especially for a small team like his, but they should take solace in knowing they have a big signing for later in the season at North Wilkesboro. They got a 5th car entered for that race, and none other than Ramian Fisher driving that number 48 Chevrolet. So a big deal for Henley Bemidji Racing. Hopefully they can rebuild and focus on that race.
Yeah, that's going to be what they need to focus on now, as they have nothing left to worry about in here except waiting for this race to end before they can head back to the shop. But at least they have something positive to look forward to, as right now, I'm not sure Brock's looking really happy with what he's seeing in his mirror right now.
Yeah, he sees nothing but white and orange currently, as Nelson Reeves all over the back of the 93. Starting to venture up the racetrack a little bit is the 93 car. And remember, Genesis Engineering, the team Brock drives for, they have never won a Superstar Series race. The whole Dodge nameplate has yet to win a Superstar Series race in the modern era. Could we see that happen here tonight? It's only a matter of time before we find out, as we're closing in on lap 40.
Yeah, with so many laps clicked off, Brock leading all of them so far, he's got to be happy with this, even with a mirror full of Reeves every now and then. It's just, this is something that he really needs, is a run like this, and I'd say a win would certainly help him, as it's looking like they're getting ready to start heading up on lap traffic here in the next 10 laps or so.
Yeah, you saw Daniel Voiles, the first car they're probably going to catch, as Vargas ventures up to the high line in a big way. Now Miles Mashburn trying to work some rubber into that high groove. That's going to allow Sam Denoda to Mashburn's inside for a moment. Oh, they almost make contact going into turn 1. But Mashburn holds on for the moment. He's going to get a good run off the top. It seems like the bottom of the racetrack is good for corner entry, while the top is very good for corner exit. You can see that there with Mashburn being able to hold off Denodo there. But this is going to be a dynamic worth keeping our eye on for the rest of the night. Is once the rubber gets worked into that top groove, it's going to become very viable as a racing line later in this race.
And it saw that Mashburn looked like he was clear Denodo, and there he goes again. But for a second there, it almost looked like he just couldn't hold it, but he's back where he needs to be. As, man, Reeves and Fair, they are right there. If they could not focus on each other, they might be able to do something to get by Brock, then settle it amongst themselves. But it doesn't look like they're able to do anything with that 93 right now.
Yeah, like I said before, I think the two Revolution Racing cars back there, they're faster than Reeves, but this is just such a difficult place to overtake, especially when early in the race when the rubber is not worked into the top groove. So I fully expect them to just ride single file for the moment, just trying to make up some time on the 93. And at this point, I fully expect them to start working together at some point, probably not right away, because remember, Reeves and Brock, they have nothing to lose. They're going for just a race win and nothing else. But Vargas and Fair and Teskar, they're all fighting for a championship. They have very much a lot to lose. So they have to be careful not to risk totaling their car and get their playoff started in a very bad way.
Yeah, that's one advantage that Brock and Reeves and other non-playoff drivers currently in the top 10 or anywhere else in the field have, again, an advantage to the playoff drivers. They don't have to manage their cars as much. They're not fighting for a championship. They're only here to spoil the party and get some wins. But Brock and Reeves both right now are in very good position to do just that.
So as things stand right now, Brock's lead 0.3 of a second and continues to hold station as the entire, pretty much the whole field running in single file formation for the moment. But Brock has led all 47 laps of this race so far. This is the most laps William Brock has ever led in a 1-Up Superstar Series race. So he would very much love to cap off the night with a win. But we still have just about 100 laps to go. And anything can happen at this place, especially in the late stages when people start getting desperate.
Oh yeah, desperation, if that starts kicking in, look out, we might see some carnage. But so far it's been a fairly clean race as we're reaching the 1/3 mark.
Yep, and it looks like the top 6 are in good contention for this lead right now. Maybe the top 7 if Denoto can get there. But William Brock has led the entire way. If he can make it to lap 76 with the lead, he'll lock up the most laps led bonus point. And that's important because it takes away that advantage from any but playoff drivers trying to take it away. As we now have a side-by-side battle for second, Reeves gets forced to the top of the racetrack. Fair and Vargas working their way underneath him.
Yeah, but like we saw earlier with Mashburn versus Denoto, there's some good runs off here, although that may not be the case, as it looks like Fair's actually got a really good chance to steal second away from Reeves here.
Yeah, they're side-by-side pretty much all the way around this racetrack. I think Fair actually is going to get Reeves at the line there, but I don't know if he's going to stay there or not, because Nelson Reeves has a very nice run on the top of the racetrack, especially on corner exit. So that is just going to allow him an even bigger opportunity to keep this position, and they almost make contact going into one.
We've seen 3 or 4 different instances tonight of very close calls, but everybody's been able to keep it together, and looks like we got Vargas under attack from Reeves' teammate here. This is interesting right here, and it's allowing Brock to pull away just that much more.
Yeah, Brock has a 1-second advantage now over Nelson Reeves, and they really need to stop fighting each other at this point. Just work hard to catch that 93, because I think Brock's going to start to catch lap traffic here in a short moment. So if the 93 gets held up by the lap cars, I fully expect these guys will catch up in a hurry. The question is, will they be able to pass it?
Yeah, that is a big question. And while we were focusing on what was going on with the 4 Toyotas there, I couldn't help but watch Denoto again try and make moves on Mashburn, and scoring shows it didn't work, but he's going to keep trying, and it looks like he still is back there.
Yeah, they are still side by side for that 6th position. It was a drag race across the line, but William Brock now has Echo Ross in his sights, trying to put her a lap down. Remember, Ross, the only driver in the Superstar Series to be running at the finish of every race this season. She's doing a phenomenal job in her rookie season, but she may be the first one to fall a lap down to William Brock here as we approach the 60-lap mark.
Yeah, I definitely got to commend Echo for her determination to keep finishing every race. Even though she usually ends up finishing in toward the back or mid-pack at best, it certainly is credit to that team's program that even if they're not always up to par every race, they are doing an incredible job to be able to allow her to finish every single race up to this point, as she's got the leader catching up to her.
Yeah, so that's William Brock holding the race lead, but that gap is starting to close. Nelson Reeves now back down to 0.6 of a second between himself and the 93. So the gap's starting to come down a little bit, and I fully expect that 93 to have a lot of company for the lead once he catches the back of the field.
Yeah, and they're all in about the same order, except Teskar and Vargas have officially flipped several laps ago, but they've sorted it out. They're not fighting each other for the time being, so that could give them a chance to get up here to the 93, as like we mentioned, he is catching lap traffic, so it'll just be a matter of, can he clear lap traffic quick enough, or will he be swallowed up in the fights to get by them and lose the lead?
Yeah, the gap keeps coming down. It's now down to just under 0.6 of a second between Reeves and Brock. As things stand right now, it is going to be very tight, and we'll see what the gap is at the line. It's down to 0.4 of a second now. Reeves is absolutely closing in on Brock here, but like I said, catching a car is one thing. Passing them, a whole different story, especially at a place like Bristol, where it's tough to pass anyway, and you got lap cars in the mix too. It's a lot of wild cards here.
Yeah, catching is one thing and passing is another. I like that, and I've gone to it a few times, but we look at the truck race. That was definitely the case there, and so far it's the case here. Nobody's been able to get by Brock just yet, but lap traffic may help with that, especially the 17 and 51 nose to tail once again.
Yeah, but now Reeves moves up to the top to try and get some momentum going there. That opens the door for Fair to get underneath the 17. They're now side by side in the battle for second. And Cale Teskar Jr. trying to take a peek in there as well, trying to see what he can do. Now Teskar moves up to the top of the racetrack with his teammate Reeves, and that just allows Devin Fair to get a clear line down the bottom, but it costs him on corner exit. You can see it every time.
Yeah, and Teskar going to the high sides, allowing the 54 to catch up. And Brock has got to be thinking, yes, please, fight again. I need that. Even with lap traffic ahead of me, I need you guys fighting behind me. But it's not going to happen with the 51 and 17. They've sorted out. And Teskar about to go back to, was looking like he was about to go back to fifth. We'll see here shortly.
And the gap closing between William Brock and Nelson Reeves in their battle for the lead of the race and maybe even the win of this race. We're closing in on half distance already, but Reeves, Fair, and Brock are putting on a great battle for the lead here. A Dodge leading two Toyotas. Remember what I said earlier, Dodge has not won in the 1-Up Superstar Series since the modern era began back in 2021. So a lot is riding on this currently. Brock, the lone Dodge in the top 10.
Yeah, that being the lone Dodge in the top 10, but yet having dominated the race up to this point and looking at stealing that one crucial point from playoff contenders, man, he's definitely looked really excited about this, even as he's sandwiched between the lap cars ahead and 4 Toyotas hungry for wins and even those crucial points for the playoff contenders. You're right behind him.
And you can see now the tail end of the field is very much within the sights of the 3 leaders. Coming down into the corner now. They're going to make their way off of turn 4 now. Reeves washes up a little bit. Fair takes a sneak peek to the bottom, but it's not going to work. Reeves covers him off once again. But William Brock, if he can hold on for just 2 more laps, he'll take that point away.
Yeah, that's just what he wants to see. Even though he's not really in it for the points, he knows that these playoff contenders behind Reeves really want to get up there and try to get all the crucial points they can get. But right now, he and Reeves are just trying to settle in and do everything, but it's kind of hard to settle in when you got lap traffic ahead and playoff contenders hungry to get that first win of the playoffs behind them.
Yes, and William Brock now has locked up the point for the most laps led of the race, and you can see he's putting his bumper to the back of the 39 of Ross, trying everything he can to put her a lap down, but this 39 is holding station. She doesn't want to go a lap down. Neither does Jason Parker in front of her, nor Daniel Voiles in front of him. So at this point in time, it's pretty much a single file formation, but Ross gets pushed up the racetrack a little bit. That might allow Brock an opening to get underneath, and he continues to stay underneath the 39. So Ross is going to have a good run off the top off of turn 2. This is going to be a very interesting battle, and now Reeves and Fair back side by side again for second.
It's a rerun every time these two get side by side. It's like we've seen this before, considering we pretty much have seen this before multiple times, but this time we got Teskar right behind Fair if something were to happen and he could get in the mix. This is interesting to watch, especially with Ross up there just hold station, kind of like I believe it was the 70 truck did Zach Rogers in the truck race.
Yep, Echo Ross playing the role of defensive driving in this race, but Brock critically starting to pull a gap on Fair and Reeves battling side by side. The gap now about half a second between the 93 and the 2 Toyotas battling behind. In fact, it's 4 Toyotas battling side by side of each other, but Reeves finally clears Fair once again, and he gets a massive launch off of 2 that he can carry through for the remainder of the lap and close back in on the 93.
And meanwhile, back there I see Mashburn looking like he's trying to get by the 54, but has to tuck back in behind again as Reeves is all over the pretty much trapped 93.
Yeah, so William Brock, this is by far the most laps he has ever led in a 1-Up Superstar Series race. This is going to be a very big day for him if he can hold off these hungry Toyotas behind him. It's going to take a lot of effort, but he hasn't put a foot wrong all night long, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. We're closing in on the end of this race already. We've got about 65 laps to go. So at this point in time, Brock just needs to hold on. He's got to be told he's closer to the end now than he is to the beginning. So he's just got to keep clicking off laps, staying ahead of his 17. But boy, is it going to be tricky.
Yeah, it gets trickier and trickier every lap that he's stuck behind Echo Ross. And I've got a feeling that if he can't get by her, Reeves is going to try to capitalize. We may not see a repeat of the truck race ending here. This is going to get interesting, even as Fair continues to try to find a way around Reeves.
I still think that 51 is faster than the 17. He's just got to get around first. But Brock is doing a phenomenal job leading this race. He's led every single lap so far, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon with Reeves and Fair battling the way they are. And even if the 39 is holding up the 93 just a little bit, remember, back in the truck race, the 70 of Henry Brown held up Zach Rogers a lot during that race, and still no one was able to pass. So this might not be over for the 93s. Now he tries to get underneath Echo Ross here.
Yeah, this is the second attempt to get under the 39, and even for being a lot slower, she's carrying quite a bit of speed up there on the high side. It's just a matter of can William Brock get by, but right now it's not the case, as here we go again with the Reeves and Fair show.
They're side by side once again for second. Reeves gets the run off the top of the racetrack trying to defend, but he goes really wide this time. That allows the 51 to stay underneath the 17. Remember, this 51 is on a massive momentum string lately. He's finished in the top 10 every single race since joining this operation back in June. So he's doing a very nice job, and now he finally clears Nelson Reeves for second.
Yeah, and now Nelson has to worry about his teammate, which being stuck on the high side like that might be a problem, as once again we see Donato and Mashburn going at it behind these guys.
And remember, Tescar's racing for a championship. Reeves isn't. So they might impose some team orders to let the 0-2 through just to get that extra point. Because remember, each position's worth a point, and the top two positions are worth 5 more points each. So this is a lot to play for, as Fair now gets to the outside of Brock, but Echo Ross is just holding him up just a little bit, and that allows Reeves back to the inside.
Yeah, it's really starting to get interesting. I did say earlier it might start getting interesting, and here we are. It's not quite the end of the race, but Brock's still hanging on, and somebody finally was able to get by Reeves, but at the same time, Reeves is like, no, you don't, not for long. But yet, Fair, like you said, I'm pretty sure I have to agree with you, has the stronger car here.
He might even have a stronger car than William Brock, but we need to find out because he hasn't been in clean air all night long. So Fair just needs to find a way around this 93, and it looks like he's going to try whatever line works for him to make that happen. As Devin Fair, he came really close to winning this race in the spring. Didn't happen. He lost out to Jeffrey Finguy, but this is a very nice run from Devin Fair, and this will, as things run right now, this will boost him up to second in the points, which is phenomenal, all things considered. Considering this driver was 28th in the points at one stage.
And as we see, Brock finally cleared Echo Ross, and now he's just starting to take off. And that would definitely help if Echo can hold up the 51, the 17, and the 02, but being a fellow Toyota to these three, it might not work out that way, but we'll have to wait and see, as Brock's still trying to get away.
Yeah, Fair clears Ross now, but Ross is going to try sending it down onto the bottom. Doesn't look like it's going to work. That creates a buffer between Fair and Reeves, finally, to keep them away from each other. So now, with about 50 laps to go, Devin Fair starting to chase down William Brock. This could be a big battle for the win here.
Yeah, big battle, and I know Fair would love to get that second career win and really boost him in the playoffs, but Brock, he's going to do everything he can. He's got this far with the lead, 2/3 into it, and he locked up that most laps led point, but he is not done trying to defend that spot.
And Devin Fair, you can see, closing the gap every lap, it seems. The gap now down to just over 0.2 of a second, and there's still lap traffic in play just ahead of the leaders, but they might not catch them for a few laps more. So this could be a battle between the 51 and the 93 for the rest of this race. Fair all over the back bumper of Brock, trying to take the lead away.
Yeah, it's mega defense time for Brock. He's got to make that rear bumper as wide as he can, and so far it's doing good. But if these guys stay single file like this, they're going to catch back up to the lap traffic that got away when the 39 was an obstacle. So it's just a matter of how quickly can Fair make a move, and will it work?
And here's the thing, Nelson Reeves also cleared Echo Ross, and he's starting to close in on the battle for the lead now as well. So this could be a 3-car battle soon. I fully expected Fair to pull away from the 17, but Reeves has been able to close back up, so a very strong run from Reeves, despite that heartbreaking miss of the playoffs last time out at New Hampshire with a blown engine. But he's making up for it here tonight in the 3rd position, hoping that these two have a little coming together, and that allows him to come through for the race lead.
Yeah, that would certainly be something that he would really enjoy because, like you said, he missed the playoffs, but he would love to get some redemption for that here tonight. But as we look at it right now, they're nose to tail, and here goes Reeves once again, as I couldn't help but notice, it looks like Mashburn got by a test car for 5th.
He absolutely did. Moved the 72 up into the top 5 for the first time tonight. But you saw, while we were talking about that, Reeves putting the bumper to the back of the 51. That I fully expect the desperation is going to grow in the final third of this race. We're closing in on 40 laps to go now, and at this point in time, William Brock has just been in full command of this race from flag to flag so far. I fully expect that to continue, but if Fair's got anything to say about this, I fully expect him to go for it now.
Yeah, it's definitely getting go time. He probably felt like it was go time from the drop of the green flag, but he kept having to find a way to get around the 17 until he finally did it, and now he's got to try to find a way around the 93 as they catch up to that 76 of Parker. So maybe this is what Fair needs to be able to get by Brock.
And as things stand right now, Christian Vargas is closing up on these guys. Vargas would be the points leader after this race with his 4th place run here today, with Fair right behind him. So as now Reeves sends it in deep on Fair, I should say, trying for that 2nd spot once again, but that just gives Fair a run off the top of the racetrack, and now he's going to send it in really deep into turn 3, trying to catch the 93, who's led the entire way so far.
Yeah, and Brock isn't really pushing the issue on Parker there up ahead of him, but I'm sure that here pretty soon, if Fair keeps applying pressure to his back bumper, he's going to want to put some of his own pressure to the 76's back bumper and get him out of the way. He ain't going to want to deal with what happened with the 39, because at any point in time when he was dealing with Echo Ross, he could have lost that lead and could very well have started falling back, but here he is, still trying to hold off at one or more Toyotas trying to get by him.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting for the rest of this race. We've got 35 laps to go now, 36 laps to go, 35 next time they cross the line, and now William Brock has a mirror full of Devin Fair and Nelson Reeves and Christian Vargas, who's caught up now. So these three are going to be in prime contention to take the lead if Brock faces issues with Parker up ahead of him. But you can see Fair ring in the middle lane, trying to get some momentum generated, but then he just goes back to the bottom trying to mirror what the 93 does to prevent him from getting too far ahead. So I think Fair's going to try experimenting with lines a little more, trying to find a place where maybe the 93 is not as strong, or maybe a place where the 93 makes a little more of a mistake.
Yeah, you got to try something. If what you've been doing isn't cutting it, you got to experiment and hope that it sticks, or that it doesn't. At least if it doesn't work to get the position you're going for, you don't want to lose a spot because you experimented and it flopped.
And you can see now the top three starting to string out a little bit. The gap now between these guys, almost 0.2 of a second. So Brock is doing everything he can to hold this lead, but Fair is just pressuring him so much for this lead. If there's anybody you don't want to see in the rear view at Bristol, it's Devin Fair.
Yeah, like you said earlier, he could have had a chance to win, but it didn't happen. So He wants this win. He wants to be able to do something. He's got the opportunity. He's got the car that can do it. It's just a matter of how willing to protect himself and risk the chance of getting wrecked to get this win is William Brock going to be.
As things run right now, though, Brock and Fair nose to tail. Reeves a car length behind. Vargas a car length behind Reeves. But you can see Brock trying to take a look to the inside of Jason Parker. It's not going to work. Fair loves that. He wants to see Brock trying to make a move on the 76, because if he does that, wherever the 93 goes, the 51's going to go to the other lane just to make something happen. So this is going to be very interesting as Fair takes a peek to the inside of Brock, but he cuts him off just at the last moment.
Yeah, that's he keeps trying, but and here we go again. It's definitely looking like a repeat of what happened with Echo Ross for Brock, as Parker is just not moving out of the way.
Nor should he. He's fighting to stay on the lead lap. He has every right to fight these guys hard, but he's got to realize at some point, if he's holding the leaders up this much, he's going to get a blue flag at some point, and he's going to have to yield. But I don't know. They're hesitant to do that because Parker, like I said, has every right to try and defend his position. But now, Reeves and Vargas side by side for third. Vargas now going to come through on the 17.
Battle for the lead. Official battle for the lead. First true battle for the lead all night.
Here comes Devin Fair on William Brock. Is he going to clear? He was close to clearing, but not quite. Coming through 3 and 4. This could be our first lead change of the weekend right here. Coming off of turn 4. Devin Fair, is he going to lead at the line? Yes, he is. That's our first lead change of the whole weekend. Devin Fair takes the lead, but for how long is the question, because William Brock has a huge run off the top of the racetrack. He's going to send it off into turn 3 with the momentum off the high side. He should have a good run off the corner to lead this lap, and he does.
And he is not done yet. If he's going to lose this race, he is going to go down swinging, but he definitely carries out the momentum off of turn 2, and he reclaims that lead. But he will not lead every single lap this race, which is, I would say, an unfortunate thing, because that would have been interesting to have it happen for the whole weekend. But if he can hold on and still win, that'd be great, as we see Reeves falling back into the clutches of Mashburn, who is trying to get by him on the outside for fourth.
We're hoping we can get a first-time winner in this race, because it would mark three first-time winners on the weekend. But it's going to be very interesting in the remaining 21 laps of this race to see if Devin Fair can get back to William Brock. It's going to be very close, but Brock holds on to the lead as we have 20 laps to go.
Yeah, he was scared for a minute there, for a couple laps there, I'm sure, what Brock was. And he's probably breathing a little. He can't breathe too much of a sigh of relief, as Fair's still right there pressuring him, but he can breathe just a little bit easier knowing that he doesn't have to get back on the inside of Fair for that top spot, as Vargas going after his teammate here.
Yeah, there's no, and remember what I said earlier about the team motors at King's Motorsports? There's no team motors here. They're both racing for a championship. They have every right to race each other hard for this position. What they don't want to do is take each other out and face a deep points hole going into the next race of the playoffs.
Yeah, you don't want that. You certainly don't want to make it for an awkward team meeting on Monday, because teammates wrecking each other, that's just a team owner's nightmare. It's even worse if the team owner just happens to be a driver as well and is one of the ones involved.
Here comes Miles Mashburn to the inside of Christian Vargas. Mashburn's on a tear. He's climbed his way up to 4th spot. This 72 is making a strong run. Remember, he's racing for a championship as well. He snuck into the playoffs late, but he's making a strong run here. Could Miles Mashburn break up the Toyotas at the front of the field? He's already gotten past Reeves. Let's see what he can do now with Christian Vargas.
Where did this 72 come from? I know he was running middle of the top 10 up to a certain point, but once he started getting past drivers, and speaking of passing drivers, there's the 66 back there as well. Some of these guys are starting to come alive, and I see Teskar is also kind of faded. Things have really changed up for some of these drivers here in the closing laps.
Yeah, so that makes, if Martin can get in the 66, can get past Reeves, that'll put 2 Robbers Racing cars in the top 10. Or top 5, I should say. They're already both in the top 10. And remember, Martin, despite his best efforts at New Hampshire, just missed the playoffs by 3 points over Daniel Bouchard. He knows he was close to racing for a championship, and he knows he wants to be back into top form, racing for a title once again soon. But for now, he's got to play wingman to his boss, Miles Mashburn, because that 72 is running for a championship, but now he's under pressure from Nelson Reeves as the two Revolution Racing cars go for second here.
Yeah, and look at that. Brock finally gets by that 76 of Parker, so, well, maybe not completely, but he's definitely been able to hold to the inside. He's not stuck behind him anymore, so maybe even though Fair doesn't want to help him, maybe he can get a little bit of the draft off of that 51 and get by. So maybe he can just sail away as we're now approaching 10 laps to go.
We're coming to 10 laps to go next time they cross the line here. And, man, look at that. Oh, and Vargas with a massive run down the back straightaway. He could have passed both of them if he had just kept his foot in the gas, but he had to let off to avoid wrecking the car. Vargas is thinking big picture. He knows he wants to win this race, but he's not going to risk tearing up a car doing it. So if he has to finish second behind William Brock, then so be it. But Vargas wants a win. He has only one win this season, and that came at Kentucky. So Vargas doing everything he can to take this one, as we now are closing in on the end of this race already. We're coming to 7 laps to go at the line.
And I don't think Brock likes the view behind him any better than what he had with the 51 or the 17. And I definitely wouldn't count Mashburn out. If he can get by the 54 and do something, we may have another one here who could do something with the 93. But right now, Brock's just holding steady and still having trouble getting by the 76. But he's holding strong.
Yeah, Brock, well, if he can hang on, he'll have led all but one lap in this race, and that is an amazing feat for a driver who's never won a one-up Superstar Series race before. But at this point in time, William Brock trying to hang on. We're coming to 5 laps to go at the line this time. Trying to hold off both the Revolution Racing teammates, trying to get that first career win.
Yeah, that's a tall order, especially when it's Vargas and Fair behind. And this, he's definitely going to have to really make it wide here, because Vargas, whether he wins or not, he's going to fight for it. And now we got 4 to go. This is going to get real interesting here pretty soon.
Can Vargas make a charge at the end? He already made a big charge, but he had to back out of it. Is he going to take a big risk to try and take this win? Remember, a win is worth 5 more points than second place, so he's got to go for it at some point. 3 laps to go now.
Yeah, this is really insane. Whether it's Reeves for King Motorsports or either one of the Revolution Racing drivers, these Toyota drivers have been keeping Brock on his toes, keeping him honest. He won't have led every lap, but if he can win this race, that'll be as pure a domination as you can find, especially when it's coming to a first career win, as he goes after Parker once more.
We're coming to the white flag this time. It's in the air. We have half a mile to go from Bristol Motor Speedway. Vargas makes a move to the outside of William Brock for the lead. This is his one big chance. He's got to come off a 2 with a huge run of momentum, but Brock blocks him off. Coming through 3 and 4 for the final time. He's going to make one more dive. It's not going to work. No. And William Brock, for the first time in his career, is going to take the checkered flag and bring Dodge their first win in a very long time. William Brock wins at Bristol and sets an all-time record for the most laps led in a one-up Superstar Series race. He has led 149 laps tonight. He is your winner after a very crazy day at Bristol Motor Speedway. Christian Vargas comes home a 10th behind in second. Devin Fair third, another great top 10 run for him. Miles Mashburn and J.D. Martin make it 2 Robbers Racing cars in the top 5. Cale Tescar Jr. recovered to finish 6th ahead of Nelson Reeves, who faded to 7th. Nick Ortiz 8th. Anderson Reed, nice run for him, comes home 9th ahead of Sam Denota, rounding out the top 10. Boy, that was an incredible battle between all of those guys battling for the win, but you gotta tip your hat to William Brock. He's never led more laps in a race than he did tonight. He set the record for the most laps anybody's ever led in a one-up Superstar Series race. That is an incredible record to have, and he's going to be celebrating his first win with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that, honestly, if you're going to get your first win, why not set a record while you're at it? Big congrats to William Brock and Dodge. Like you said, long time coming, but man, he had to really fight for it nearly the entire race. And it was all either Reeves, Fair, or Vargas toward the end. It was really, really tough on him. And I'm sure he's now breathing that big sigh of relief that he couldn't really hold on to earlier after holding off Vargas and all the others.
So from James Ellison and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll see you again next time at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for race number 2 of the 1UP Superstar Series playoffs. But boy, a big congratulations had to be given to William Brock in that 93 Genesis Engineering team. His first career win as a driver, their first career win as a team, and Dodge's first win as a manufacturer in the modern era. You can't get much better than that at the world's fastest half mile.